Hi guys, my name is Greg Green, and I'm principal at Quindale High School. And I've had the good fortune to be able to present on CNN about a new concept, a new model in education called the flipped classroom or flipped learning. This model is tremendous. It has changed my school overnight, and it has changed even my life as a principal and how I view teachers and how I look at kids. And so I have grown exponentially as a person, as an educator, and I hope that in the next 30 days I give some insights of how you can transform your learning environment, how you can transform your classroom and your school. And more importantly, you can transform the lives of your students. So let's take a look at what the flipped classroom and the flipped learning is all about. We often feel like we have to choose traditional lecture or an online delivery method. But you know what? What in case we didn't have to choose? What in case we could create a learning model which is best of both models? I really love the lecture and going to a building and listening to somebody, getting some help, receiving additional services such as counseling service, social work services. I also love the fact that it's a community building and that there are extracurricular activities built in at school, like clubs, sports, and also that there's relationships that are being built. But I also love online learning. I love online learning because it's available 24/7 and 365. I can review things multiple times. I can personalize it, and it's very, very collaborative. It's convenient, it's efficient, it's self-paced, it's independent. There's so many great things about online learning. So the question is, why can't I have it all? Well, I can. And that's what's called a flipped classroom. You can have it all. You can have the best of both worlds. And you can make a huge difference in your students' lives. So let's listen to Aaron Sams, who's one of the pioneers of the flipped classroom in his environment.
I'm Aaron Sams, and I teach science here at Woodland Park High School. My ultimate goal, I guess, as a teacher is to help students become learners who can learn for themselves and by themselves. One of the problems that I was guilty of even prior to flipping my classroom around was the classroom was centered around me. I told them exactly what to learn, how to learn it, what assignments to do to learn it, and when to learn it, and how to prove to me that they learned it. I don't do that anymore. We changed the place in which content is delivered. Instead of standing in front of a class and delivering, here's how you do this type of problem, here's how this works, I deliver that direct instruction now asynchronously at home through these videos that we make with Camtasia Studio. Times till whole.
Oh, we didn't do that last time.
The last step, they were already whole numbers. We had 1, 1, and 4.
Yeah.
Here we don't have a whole number. So here's a few little tricks when you need to multiply by whole numbers. If one of your numbers ends in 0.5, you're going to multiply by 2.
Something 0.5 times it by 2.
Right.
Okay, write this down, guys.
Yes. If something ends in 0.3 or 0.33 or 0.66, you multiply by 3. And when the kids come to class, they don't show up to learn new stuff. They show up to apply the things that they learned at home and to ask me questions about the things they learned at home. So now they can have my lesson, if you will, what I would normally have stood up and lectured to them in class with some added features. They get that at home. And then what they were expected to do for homework is now what they do in my class. Life is different for me because I no longer am the guy who stands up in the front of the classroom and just yaks at a student for an hour or however long the class is. Now I walk around the class and I help kids. I'm a tutor, I'm a guide, I'm the putter-outer of fires, whatever it happens to be in my crazy chemistry class. I walk around and do that. I don't stand up front and teach under the kind of the traditional model.
Aaron Sams is a wonderful example of what an educator can do to transform education. But let's look at another example of what another teacher feels that their classroom is like.
I've been teaching math for the last 5 years, and this is why I flipped my classroom. This is what my classroom used to look like. I was teaching to the middle group of the class, the students that could follow along with what we were doing, and we were going through the content, while I had a group of higher level students not challenged, bored with the information, ready to move forward. And I had a struggling group of students that were not receiving enough effective remediation. They didn't have the basic content they needed to be working on the content we were currently covering, or they needed more help in order to be successful. This led to a 90% use of class time being spent on delivery and review of content. 90% of the time I was at the front of the classroom lecturing to a group of students, and I wasn't meeting all of their needs. 10% of class time was actually spent on application, which led to, depending on students, to do the application needed to be successful. They had to go home or outside of class and work on applying the concepts that I was giving out in class. This constant battle of not reaching the needs of all students and feeling the need to differentiate for all of my learners allows teachers to feel overwhelmed and ineffective, because we see the need for differentiation, but there's just not enough time for effective differentiation. This called for a drastic change in how we teach. This is where flipping the classroom comes in. Now the students outside of class preload the content. They get the information they're going to need for class. They can pause, rewind, and rewatch the videos as many times as they need to. They can post questions online to their classmates or to the teacher. And it's a self-paced program where they can be remediated by going back and reviewing former topics, or they can work ahead when they've already mastered a concept and are ready to look forward. They get the content here before class, so that when they come into class, my whole classroom has now shifted, where I'm at the center of the class, working between these differentiated groups, focused on different pieces of application. I can now work between each of these groups that are moving at their own pace. This has created a 90% use of class time spent on application of the content, and 10% of class time is spent on delivery of content, when I can answer questions that have been posted or take any other questions that have come up from applying the content. Now in my classroom, all students are engaged and challenged. I have time to work with each group, give them individualized time and instruction as they need, and I can actually work between each of the groups to provide effective differentiation for all my varied groups of learners. My struggling students, my middle group of learners, and I can now extend and expand on my higher level students' prior knowledge and challenge them in the classroom.
I couldn't say it better myself. The flipped classroom allows teachers to engage all students. For all students to have the opportunity to learn in a safe and supportive and wonderful atmosphere. I think we have a chance to really make a difference in our students' lives. And I think the flipped classroom offers us the opportunity and the platform to make that difference. In the next 30 days, you'll learn how to flip your classroom, how to be most productive with your time in the class with your students. I wish you the best of luck and have a great, great experience.